Hi, my name's James Gauci, and this is my layout, West Croydon Railway Station in 1949. So the reason why I picked West Croydon is I grew up in West Croydon pretty much my entire childhood, and I came across a photo of the railway station and how it looked in 1965, and I was absolutely smitten with it. So I decided 3 years ago to build the layout and started off by building the railway station buildings that you can see here in the middle. So it all started with scratch building the railway station buildings, as you can see in the middle there. I used blueprints that I found at the State Records Office to recreate everything and convert everything from feet and inches to HO scale. And then about 2 years ago, I worked with my father-in-law to build the initial modules that you can see supporting the layout. And from there, I began detailing and working with a partner at Trackside Models, Richard Racanello, to laser cut the buildings that you can see here, which are prototypical with the buildings that are there today, the homes and houses. And I have built pretty much everything else from hand. So all the trees that you can see, I've leveraged reading and learning about techniques of Luke Towan. You can see the Stobie poles are inspired by the designs of Gavin Thrum, and everything else that I've looked and observed along the way, I've leveraged things that I've read and resources available online to create them as close to, if not identical, to what was in West Croydon 70 years ago. Even down to the railway rolling stock, everything that you can see here, whether it's the 3D printed rail cars, passenger carriages that I've worked with Ted Ems on, everything is prototypical to exactly how the trains would run through that corridor. And the reason why I wanted to build it was railway stations were the heart of community. And so when you see that there is the shops and the street running through it, people would congregate. People would take the train to the city, to any part of the metropolitan area or beyond. And this was the start of that journey, and they would connect with people along the way. And so discovering that and seeing photos of that and how people used to live really connected with me. And so, yeah, hence why this has been a 3 years love of building. Portline was also fundamental to a lot of industry and serviced many manufacturing companies along the way. One in particular was the GMH Holden plant, which was located at Woodville. And multiple times a day, a locomotive would go to Woodville with a set of OA wagons and would collect Holden motor bodies from approximately 1948 all the way for actually more than a decade. And so I've prototypically recreated that train as it would go from GMH Woodville to Mile End, where it would be put together with a longer locomotive and hauled all the way to Dandenong in Victoria. So there are photos from the Victorian archives of those very carriages sitting in sidings awaiting the rest of their leg to go to Dandenong, and there's even photos of them being unloaded at Port Melbourne as well. Yeah, well, they would build the motor bodies first, and then all the finishing off was done in Melbourne. And so that at least went on for, well, I think at least the first 3 models of Holden. And so that's the incredible thing, is that this captures industry and passenger use. The port line in Adelaide was fundamental to all of forms of transportation. And that people every day were witness to that. Some of the major engineering and manufacturing milestones in Australian history were happening in front of their doors. So the passenger stock consists of dog box side loading carriages, which were 3D printed by Ted Ems. I've also got centenary cars and Brill rail cars, which were all extremely common at the time. What I love about 1949 and why I particularly went for that was the fact that I was able to obtain aerial imagery of what the area used to look like. And in particular, this is just before the red hen, which was so common to the South Australian network, made an appearance. So you have that incredible crossover of different railway modes of passenger transport. It was almost pot luck for a passenger as to what would arrive to pick them up and take them across the metropolitan network. My work, in order to be able to accomplish this, I'm working with Richard at Trackside Models. I needed to be able to create prototypical versions of all the homes and buildings on my layout. And so working with Richard, I was able to scope out all the dimensions and take photos of each of the homes. And Richard was incredible in terms of turning them into actual models of those homes. Richard has now turned several of those homes and buildings into kits, which are an incredible, beautiful made model, which you can buy from Trackside Models. And I really thank him very much for all his support over the past 18 to 24 months in putting all of that together and making this a success. You can find me at West Croydon RS _1949 on Instagram and Facebook, where you can see more of my layout and any further progress I do on it.